We are 50 days away from the, inflection point of all inflection points. The 2024 election is upon us. Early voting now officially underway in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Polls are neck and neck. We will look at them tonight. But tonight also, Donald Trump is just frankly fortunate to be alive again. Another tough weekend in my home state, in this case in Florida, for the second time this year. Donald Trump was nearly assassinated. It was much closer than people know. And coming up, we're going to hear from real estate developer and friend of mine, Steve Witkoff, who on Sunday morning I had breakfast with him and another friend of ours at, the City Diner, if you want to know, in West Palm Beach, Florida. After breakfast, I went home. They went to Trump International Golf Club for a meeting and a round of golf with the former president. I was invited to play. I said no. And what he told me was beyond shocking, because Steve witnessed the near assassination firsthand of the former president and presidential candidate. Thankfully, at the last minute, one Secret Service agent noticed the barrel of a gun being held by the would-be assassin in a treed area some 300 plus yards from the president, where he was playing golf. In just a moment, Steve Witkoff will share that story right here on TV for the first time exclusively. Now, if not for one eagle-eyed Secret Service officer and several others who engaged the shooter from an open field, Donald Trump likely would not be alive tonight.
All right, my friends, J.R. Duke's back with you. Appreciate you joining me today. Can you believe it? Another round of an attempted assassination towards former President Donald Trump. Outrageous. What is going on? Believable. I am not going to accept this. You should not accept this. This is not normal. This cannot be made to be normal. You heard host Sean Hannity just state that he was having lunch with the individual by the name of Stephen that was playing golf with President Trump, and by the grace of God, Donald Trump is still with us today. Absolutely remarkable. Now, let me ask you, what are the chances, what are the odds that former President Donald Trump would have two separate assassins try to take him out in as many months? The odds are not very good. They're not very likely. My opinion, folks, something is definitely up. Let's take a look at this interview with Jesse Waters. He has a guest on that I think will shed some light on what might be going on and explain all this nonsense.
Let's bring in former FBI Special Agent Stuart Kaplan. What do you think happened here, Stuart?
Well, Jesse, let me take you back. If you recall, after July 13th, I told you that the administration, the current administration, gave the Secret Service plausible deniability, almost like a stand-down order to give Donald J. Trump minimal coverage. Everybody said that was crazy. Everybody said our government is not that corrupt. I said at the top, they are corrupt. The men and women on the ground, they're good people. They risk their lives. If you recall, the then director, Cheeto, came before Congress, gave every nonsensical excuse. He had all the assets. He had all the tools. We were well prepared. It's just an unfortunate scenario. Today, Jesse, the curtain came down with the acting director, Rowe. What did he say? The assets as directed by President Biden were in place yesterday. Do I understand that the President of the United States is dictating what is necessary for our Secret Service to keep our former president safe and sound? I thought the Secret Service operates under Homeland Security. Where's the Secretary of Homeland Security? Jesse, the curtain is down. Politics infected as it infected the FBI. It has now infected the Secret Service.
That's so brilliant that you picked up on that, because I didn't pick up on that.
So, folks, imagine you have a former FBI special agent saying directly, as he predicted months ago, that this is under the discretion of current President Joe Biden, essentially instructing the Secret Service on what level, or I should say lack of level, of protection to give the current president, the guy who keeps getting shot at, the guy who has been shot, our former President Donald Trump. What is going on? What is this all about? I mean, let's just be straight up and honest about it. We may not literally have a smoking gun at this point, but we do have a president who has clearly been shot in the ear. We clearly now have two documented attempts on former President Donald Trump's life. And when you get right down to it, what is the president doing directing the lack of security that former President Trump should have? These are decisions that should be made solely by the Secret Service and based on need. Clearly, you have former President Donald Trump that has an active threat against him from Iran and from other adversaries because of things that Donald Trump did in the exercise of his duties as President of the United States, and he is essentially under a death warrant and other individuals in his administration by the government of Iran. And now you have the FBI director, in his own words, as this gentleman here, this former FBI agent is pointing out, essentially stating that they have been green-lighted to reduce the coverage for former President Donald Trump. An absolute outrage. And let's be honest about it. They've tried taking every dime this man has made from him. They've tried to humiliate him. They have dragged him in courtrooms all over this country, trying to embarrass him, taking his mugshot. They have went after his children and dragged them into court, tried to bar them from running businesses. As a matter of fact, they're under orders right now, some of the children, not to operate businesses within the state of New York. These are things that should not be allowed in the United States of America. And it looks like that if they can't find a way to take Donald Trump's money, to humiliate him, embarrass him, before he becomes president again, they're going to do what President Biden said. They're going to literally put a bullseye on Donald Trump. How unfortunate, how ridiculous, how corrupt.
That's so brilliant that you picked up on that, because I didn't pick up on that. And we're going to go look at that again and rewatch that, because if that's true, he should have no fingerprints on that level of detail and resource with regards to protecting his rival.
The increased assets as directed by President Biden were in place yesterday, quote unquote.
Wow. All right. Stuart Kaplan, thank you as always.
And my friends, something is seriously wrong with this whole ordeal. How is it that this Ruth guy was able to sit in a tree or at the bottom of a tree off to the side of the golf course for allegedly 12 hours, and yet the Secret Service, none of the security guards were able to see him ahead of time? They did not do a check ahead of time. They did not have posted guards out there. They did not run dogs up and down. They should have ran one dog to sniff for explosives and another dog looking for people. And apparently the Secret Service did not do any of this. Now, why is this? And folks, I'm not the only one asking these questions. Something is wrong here. Something is amiss. Let's take a look at what Jesse Waters had to say about this. And he points out in the own words of the officer that arrested this kook exactly what his concerns are, and let's talk about it.
Tonight, the country's wondering, how did this happen again? The last time a president was nearly assassinated was 4 decades ago, and Trump was almost taken out twice in one summer. Even the officer who arrested the assassins asking questions.
What we're finding out is not from this area, which of course raises the bigger question is, how does a guy from not here get all the way to Trump International, realize that the president, former president of the United States, is golfing and is able to get a rifle in that vicinity? I think that's the question the FBI, the Secret Service are laser focused on today. Is this guy part of a conspiracy? Is he a lone gunman? If he's a lone gunman, President Trump is that much safer because we have him. But if he's part of a conspiracy, then this whole thing really takes on a very ominous tone.
Trump's golf game was a last-minute decision. So how did a random out-of-town or know Trump was at that course that afternoon? There's only 3 possible answers. The former assistant director at the FBI says he guessed and got very lucky. He conducted surveillance on Trump and followed him to the golf course, or he had inside information about Trump's schedule. The last answer is scary and has implications that another person was involved. The Secret Service and FBI are actively investigating whether Ruth was part of the conspiracy.
Is there any evidence to suggest that the suspect knew that Donald Trump was going to be on that golf course at that time?
Based on what I know now, and it's an active investigation, I don't have any information on that.
Did he act alone? Did he have some kind of help?
At this point, we're still exploring that, investigating that. Our investigation will determine that. We do not have information that he's been acting with anyone else at present.
The FBI says 58-year-old Ryan Ruth is a roofer who maintains residencies in North Carolina and Hawaii. This individual was staked out by the fence line of the golf course for over 12 hours, waiting to take his shot. He had a scoped SKS rifle with a shaved off serial number, 2 backpacks, and 2 cameras. The guy was ready for action. But where did he get the gun from? Ruth's caught more than 100 criminal charges just in North Carolina alone, including charges of possession of weapons of mass destruction, possession of a fully automatic machine gun, hit and runs, drug charges, bad checks, stolen cars. Years back, there was even a 3-hour armed standoff between Ruth and law enforcement. The FBI had Ruth on its radar.
It was the subject of a previously closed 2019 tip to the FBI where it was alleged he was a felon in possession of a firearm.
So the gun was probably stolen, since a background check would have flagged the sale and the serial number was scratched off. And the car he was pulled over in had stolen plates. How is a roofer from out of state with $300 in his checking account and no assets to his name operating like a seasoned pro? When Secret Service agents swept the perimeter of the course, they noticed Ruth's sniper nest and they opened fire. Ruth wasn't hit and fled the scene and hopped in his Nissan heading north on 95. But thankfully, a wide-eyed local snapped photos of his car. A bulletin went out and sheriff deputies pulled him over 45 minutes north of West Palm.
Driver, take 2 steps to your right. Take 2 steps to your right. Driver, walk straight back. Keep walking.
Keep that low.
When Ruth was taken into custody, he was calm. He knew what he was being pulled over for. He took the 5th, asked for a lawyer. He was perched on the 6th hole. Trump was putting for birdie on 5. He was just 300 yards away from the former president. How was a man with a loaded rifle allowed to get that close to 45, especially after what happened in Butler?
At this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around him. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible.
Luckily, agents saw the barrel of Ruth's rifle peeking through the foliage against the chain link fence before Trump got the 6. But the Secret Service didn't even sweep the course before Trump teed off. They had a team 1 hole ahead of him and another agent sweeping the perimeter during the round. The Secret Service director patted himself on the back.
Yesterday was an off-the-record movement, off the record. And the president wasn't even really supposed to go there. It was not on his official schedule. And so we put together a security plan, and that security plan worked.
It worked because Trump's still alive, but it failed because it was too close for comfort. It's just odd that this was a last-minute decision to play golf, and the assassin was already at the course since 2 a.m. And then an agent fired rounds at him, and he escapes into a different county, only captured because a sharp citizen happened to nab pics of his plate. This is the second time in 2 months where Trump almost died because of an unsecured perimeter. The Biden-Harris administration, they're in charge of protecting that perimeter, and they've failed twice. Biden still doesn't seem angry about it and hasn't fired a soul.
Do you have any more information on the assassination attempt?
I think thank God the president's okay. I think we got a full report so far. We're down there tonight. One thing I want to make clear, the service needs more help. And then I think the Congress should respond to their needs if they in fact need more services. So that's what we're going to be talking about.
Biden's Secret Service almost got Trump killed twice, but the man's blaming Congress.
My friends, this is absolutely outrageous and unacceptable. You just heard the sheriff say in his own words, well, we kind of all know what's going on. And that is because Donald Trump is not the active president, the current president right now. He does not have the top security that he should have. He said, well, we already know out loud. This is an outrage. It should not be allowed, and we should demand better. And how about the director of the Secret Service, the guy that's serving as the acting director when the other lady was kicked out? This guy is getting on my last nerve already. They constantly are praising themselves of what a great job they've done. They have failed, ladies and gentlemen. It's just that simple. Somebody gets a rifle that close to the President of the United States, that is a F. That's a fail. That's a red letter F. They can say whatever they want to say, but it's a fail. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should resign into disgrace, and somebody needs to take over the Secret Service that knows what they are doing. And I think Jesse makes a great point. There's one of three things going on. You either have a guy that got lucky, he just basically guessed the president would be there playing golf on a nice Sunday day, or you had this individual that basically scoped out Donald Trump. He did some reconnaissance, he studied it, and made an educated inference as to where the president would be. And of course, the third scenario is that he had inside information. That is extremely troubling, extremely scary. This is a guy that has been over to Ukraine. Obviously, he's been in different parts of the world. Where's he getting the money as a roofer? He has residence in North Carolina and in Hawaii, and he's driving in Florida to scope out and shoot the president. What is that all about? And of course, they come out and imply that he's a lone wolf, but the reality is we just don't know. Had it not been for that Secret Service agent knowing what he was looking for and happened to see that barrel sticking out of the fence, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump might have not been with us as of right now. There's a very good chance of that. Thank God he is okay. Folks, my opinion is something is wrong at the Secret Service. Something is wrong within our government. I am not the kind of person that sits around making conspiracy theories all the time. I am telling you, our government is corrupt. There is a lot of draining of the swamp that needs to happen. There are a lot of people that need to lose their jobs and be replaced. We all must make the right decision concerning this upcoming election. Encourage your family, friends, your neighbors to get out and vote. It is very important. This election is probably going to be the one of the most consequential elections in our entire lifetime. And that's no rhetoric. That is true. That is exactly what we are facing. Please talk to your neighbors. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it's troublesome, but we all have to do our part to make sure we reelect Donald Trump once again as president of the United States. If you haven't done so already, you're still with me, you might as well hit the thumbs up button. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe. It helps the algorithm. It helps the channel. It helps get this message out. It is a pleasure for me to have you join me. Take a few minutes together so we can talk about these important topics. I always say, keep that mind free. Never give up. Until next time, my friends, I am J.R. Dukes.